Welcome to the Reconnected podcast, a home for sharing, understanding, and growth for the retail grocery store industry. During each episode, we will meet an amazing member of our community as we learn about their story and jointly explore the intricacies and challenges of our supply chain. Through it all, we'll remember and honor that everything starts with the real people who spend so much of their lives supporting the retail food supply chain. We will bring together the voices of manufacturers, distributors, and retailers as we journey together to help our industry reconnect. My name is Luke Abbott, and I'm excited to have you join us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Reconnected podcast with today's guest, Steve Gaither from 108. Welcome.
How you doing, man?
I am on top of the world. Today it's 70 degrees and sunny in San Diego. Where are you?
Chicago. So we're our 2 weeks of summer is officially over.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry.
It's the beginning of the end.
Oh my Lord. Well, thank you for joining today. And you and I've got a chance to know each other over the last year. Got to meet you, I think first time meeting you in person, maybe it may have been at Ciel in Paris. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
we meet somewhere else?
Yep.
And I really thought you'd be a fantastic guest to include for Reconnected. Because you have some really good insights. You work with a lot of amazing brands, and I thought, having you here would be a lot of fun. So we're going to make it fun. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your company first and like what your company does, and then we'll dig into some of your background and your story.
Yeah, the company really sits at the intersection of where brand strategy and channel marketing meet. So functionally, that's brand strategy, package design, direct-to-consumer, Amazon, TikTok, supporting retail, shopper marketing. But really it's about, figuring out the look and feel, voice of a brand. Mm-hmm. What categories should it play in? What SKUs should be launched at what price? Which channels do they belong into? And how do you execute against it? And it's all about digging through syndicated data. And then when you're in execution mode, measuring every single thing you do.
I love it. So to clarify, is it the strategy around that, or is it also execution? Like it's talking
the full realm. To me, it all starts off with the strategy,
mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, anything regarding content creation, website design, package design, direct to consumer, top of funnel to bottom of funnel, Amazon, start to finish, TikTok shop. The only thing we don't do in-house from a channel perspective is your area. We work with smart folks like you on the retail side.
we appreciate that. Are you able to share some names of brands that people might recognize that you worked with in the past or you work with? Is that something you're comfortable with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything from Real Good Foods. I created the brand when they were a brown paper bag prototype, and now they're $250 million category leader.
Not bad.
Smithfield Foods along the way. Emerging brands, work with the Yishis of the world. We've worked with Mush. We've worked with Trejo's Tacos, thus the Machete, Rocky Mountain Chocolate, Vosges Chocolate, every category, you name it. I mean, we've got somebody I've worked with in almost every category in the store.
Got it. It sounds like you can, just want to make sure I'm still understanding exactly what you do. So you have the ability to do like the high level, like marketing is strategy, right? So it's like the high level, what is the strategy for your company? If that strategy involves like packaging, branding, redevelopment, you can do that in-house. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, where I like to start off with the brand strategy, and the reason behind it is, and I don't care if it's an emerging brand, if it's a middle market manufacturer that's doing private label and co-packing and maybe has a brand with 60 SKUs that had its heyday, or any size international company. For me, the brand strategy process is the same. Call time out, dig through the 4 C's. Company, figure out what's the capabilities, capacity, strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, or channel success, failures, what's hanging out in the closet from the innovation side. Category and competition. I'm not a fan of qualitative data. I've found through the years that through focus group surveying, et cetera, that people lie. Consumers they're not expert feedback givers. The loudest person in the room wins. What I do believe in is data, right? Syndicated data,
Yes.
especially, So I either use IRI, Nielsen, or Spins. And I
Okay.
look at the data probably a little bit differently. The same things an analyst does. I look at ACV, TDP, velocity, SRP, all the cool acronyms you can think of. But more importantly, I look at, hey, where's the white space? How can
Mm-hmm.
I steal from two categories instead of creating a new one? How can I
Mm-hmm.
lower the SRP by reducing the outsize or changing the pack type? Maybe instead of being in this category, I should be in the adjacency or
Mm-hmm.
the one over there, right? And lastly is the customer, both the consumer to pull the product off the shelf and the story I need to tell the buyer to put the product on the shelf, right? So out of those four C's comes up to and including a brand name, campaign name, tagline, positioning statement, key messaging, SKU rationalization and prioritization, pricing, attributes, um,
Mm-hmm.
basically everything that takes you from where you are today to where both the consumer and the buyer actually live, right? And it's
Right.
the output's a little bit different for an emerging brand than a middle market brand that's been around 50 years to an international brand, but the process is about the same. And then you
Got
get into package design, look, feel, and voice, and then channel strategy and budget.
Okay. And then literally for like Amazon, TikTok shops, you will actually execute, like, it isn't just advising, but you literally have the capabilities of executing Amazon and trying to get the creative up to promote it to everything needed. I mean, it's like a full
Yeah,
shop.
it's a full service shop. I mean,
Okay.
everything it typically starts off with after you have the brand strategy, then I'll move into content. Hey, let's go get the photo shoots, video shoots done, both for uh, product shots as well as one of our campaigns that we're going to launch with. And then when you're rolling into, depending on the channel, right? If it's
Mhm.
TikTok, is it TikTok as a paid channel or is it TikTok shop as a marketplace?
Yeah,
Which nuanced, but hey,
it's
we're
important.
gonna we're gonna put it on TikTok Shop Marketplace, or we're gonna tie it with Buy on Prime. Are we okay? Let's go through and manage the creators, which basically perform like affiliates.
Hmm.
How much are we going to? How much are we going to kick them? Is it going to be 10%, 20%, 30%? Are they the right creators?
Hmm.
Um, what paid do we put against it? It's. I would argue with social, it's a little bit different than a bunch of agencies. It's sort of to me a sort of a past tense philosophy of building social media to build social media. Right? I don't
Hmm.
believe in fans, followers. What I do believe in is sales. Right?
Okay.
So, ironically, the algorithms same ones that people use to like I took Dish Network as one of the first major brands on Facebook, right? I had
Right.
over 1 million fans and things were great. At a certain point, Facebook said, okay, now you have fans, now you need to pay to reach those fans.
Yes.
Then it really doesn't matter if you have fans or not fans. Here's engagement and here's conversion. They're two separate buckets that you spend
Yep.
against. So, as of 10 years ago, I really I downplay organic social, not saying it shouldn't be done,
Hmm.
but it shouldn't probably be done by an agency until you hit 20 million. To me, it's about if I'm running a Facebook ad, it better drive to buy now and give me a 3-time LTV over CAC.
Right.
If
Well,
not, why do it?
yeah, and I'm curious your thoughts on this because I'm a big fan of Coconut Cult. Have you followed them at all?
In the past,
Okay, so
not more recent.
it's just the founder talking about his product and oftentimes against about other products and how they're better and their probiotic counts and it's just him and his cell phone and his TikTok engagement seems to be hundreds of thousands often for his videos. Instagram engagements through the roof, and so it's interesting to me that there seems to be a path in some situations. It may not be for everybody. I mean, he's got something to say. Like his product is the most expensive yogurt on the market. It has crazy numbers of probiotics, and he's got a great story that he personally can tell as the founder. But I'm curious, like the idea of founders just going out there and telling the story and connecting with people.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, going back to where organic social, I don't agree with that it shouldn't be done. What I agree with is up until you hit probably 10 to 20 million, you probably shouldn't put agency spend against it.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. I agree with that
So
too.
what I do believe for organic, what works really well is the same content library I create for paid. Let's use that same content library that somebody, I argue, that should be internal, should be doing for posting organic strategy, and creator content, the founder content, etc. All those things should be on there, and it should probably be done by at least somebody at the company. Once again,
Right.
once a company hits 10 to $20 million,
Yeah.
and you can really start to put spend against that isn't necessarily attributable to a pure ROI, then go ahead and start to bring an agency in.
Okay.
But it's
So
just
I
a
think what
different
you're saying
mentality.
is that early on, top of the funnel, you can't boil the ocean. You're not big enough to spend enough to make anything happen, right? Unless you just have a huge bucket of money. I get that.
Yeah, if you're going to spend money with an agent, like if you're going to spend money with, there's a bunch of social agencies out
Yeah.
there, right? Can anybody tell me with the money that they're spending, if they're, a 500K to $5 million brand, can
Yeah.
they tell me what they're spending on non-paid social, what that means to them on a
Yeah.
return basis? Nothing
Right.
fluffy like fans, followers, engagement, reach. I want to know, how does that impact the P&L?
Right. And what's
And
nice
the
is
answer usually is you can't.
you can't. Right. We just know we should do it. We should check a box. I mean, on the retailer side where I work a lot right now, there is this idea you got to check a box. Like there needs to be something going on in social media. Like, do you need to do you have 20? I think like 35,000 followers on Instagram feels like a good number for a younger brand that says, hey, we have a community that we could probably get activated to go into grocery stores and buy product.
I would argue that going into, let's say, a category review, if I walked into that category review and said, hey, I have my website, I have ads, and I have my Klaviyo, and I'm driving those folks to a shoppable landing page, which is either Micmac or Destiny or BigCommerce, and I'm going to drive actual ad dollars to add to carts for your retailer.com, so Kroger.com or Walmart.com. I'm going to spend this amount of money and send this amount of leads to
That
your
means
door.
more.
That's going to mean a lot more. They're going to, being able to go and say, hey, I spent a trade with you. I put money into Kroger Precision. Did you know I also sent $20,000 worth of add to carts to Kroger.com this month?
Yeah.
That's going to mean a lot more to the retailer than 35,000.
I agree. Now, does that work the same with like a Whole Foods, maybe Whole Foods and Sprouts, for example? Like, because I'm not really aware of the ability beyond Instacart to really drive people like directly to driving sales.
Yeah, shoppable landing pages are pretty neat. Once again, I worked with Mix back in the day, Mix Recipes. They were, when I was working with Smithfield. Smithfield, this is pre-COVID.
Yep.
They had this concept that Mixed Recipes basically took recipes that had, let's say, Smithfield products in it. And what you did was you clicked a button and it added all that stuff to cart to the retailer.com. So now I had, Smithfield pot roast and pork, whatever it is, and celery salt and all these different things that they clicked and added to cart. And we started playing around with Smithfield back in the day. A friend of mine was the CMO over there, and we were just doing pet projects on really trying to drive revenue to add to cart by using Mixed Recipes. Then COVID happened, right? Which was a beautiful thing to test the thesis.
Totally, yes.
Right? And the data was outstanding. You talk about, obviously, they had to pivot a lot of stuff from food service over to retail. But these shoppable landing pages really made a difference. And then Mix got acquired by BigCommerce, and then Destiny, who's a part of Spins, a couple of years ago, started launching, and now Micmac came out. So all of a sudden now there's competition. But even if you look at Dude Wipes, Sean, right? If you go to Dude Wipes, he's got his shoppable landing pages. I think if you look at it, he's probably using Micmac. I'm agnostic. I don't care which one, right? But if you go to Micmac, he's got Amazon. If you go to any of his product landing
Oh,
pages.
you have an
He's
opportunity to
got
choose where you buy
Amazon
it.
on there. He's got
Yep.
Instacart, or if he wanted to, he could put Kroger in there. He could put specific customers in there, or
Okay.
any and all customers. He's probably choosing Instacart. I'm going by memory here. I know he's got Amazon. I think he's got Instacart. Probably has Walmart, I assume.
Yep.
All three of those are major, but I could put anyone in there. Now, also when I'm driving ads, I could get it to where they don't even see the site, and I could drive them directly to add to cart there. Or in my Klaviyo, I could do the same thing. It's all link, right?
Yes.
So now when I'm running my ad spend, if I, let's say like I worked with Proper Good in the past, right? So Proper Good, was $10 million e-com brand. They jumped on with Walmart, and Walmart started saying, hey, grow with us, right? TDP growth in both the breakfast set and in the soup set. And they started to realize they really liked the concept of EDLP, which was great,
Yep.
and the retailer was willing to grow with them. They were like, hey, this e-com, it really doesn't make sense for us, because you're going to hit a wall of diminishing return of e-com. That could be at 5 million, 10 million, or 20 million, but you're going to hit that wall. Our path to 100 million is definitely through retail. So what can we do to start to convert? So obviously one of the things is Walmart Connect, put the money against Walmart.
Yep.
The other thing was turning on shoppable landing pages, right? And turning that on.
Okay. So for a brand, let me just bring up a brand right now so we can do something. We're now on, you're the third episode that'll be on YouTube, by the way. So I'm glad you brushed your hair. I did mine as well. Let's see here. Let's go to share and screen and Abbott's. So this is a company where, can you see that on your screen? Yeah. So I'm on the board of this company and been involved. We're not sold D2C at all. And I noticed.
Oh, wait, there it is.
Yep. So I noticed recently added this idea of shop on Instacart. And I can click on this. Then it actually opens up it's going to do it right now, but it opens up an Instacart shopping page.
Mm-hmm.
So for a company that's like refrigerated, that really can't do online, do you see shoppable landing pages as being an option? And like, would you actually, I just maybe you could try to make it real, like in an Abbott situation, what would we do there?
No, absolutely, right? Because cold supply chain is not the friendliest when it comes to direct to consumer.
Yep.
And when it comes to, so regardless of that, all of a sudden isn't a size thing, right? Normally I would argue you should probably think about shoppable landing pages right around the 2,500 door mark, right? Or if you have a major anchor or two, right?
Yep.
If you have a Walmart, or if anything, all of a sudden now you put Instacart, and same thing with Shopper, right? Instacart is what I call entry level or default early way to handle retailer.com with all my retailers,
Yep.
right? When you get more sophisticated, you start to get into more doors, you really want to start to play in 5 shopper channels, right? You want to play in Walmart Connect, you want to play in Kroger Precision, you want to play in Instacart, you want to play in Criteo and Citrus. Those 5 cover probably about 80% ACV across the board.
Okay.
So efficiently, instead of going to handle every retailer shopper program, I can cover the majority with those 5, right?
Okay.
The beginning, it's Instacart, then, I got it.
Usually your
Kroger.
natural channel, and that makes sense. And then you go to Target, and you go to Criteo, and
So you start to layer those in, and right around that same time where I'm thinking about moving, or maybe I'm Instacart, and right at that in between phase is where I really start to consider shoppable landing pages, because it's going to cost, depending on the provider, somewhere between $750 and $1,500 a month. So it's a cash outlay to do it, but it makes sense. The good thing is if you're with Destiny already, let's say on Store Locator, they'll add it on. It's a lot cheaper if you're already on it to add it on. If not, Micmac and Destiny are about the same price. BigCommerce is pretty close. Got another friend of mine that started a company that's doing $750 in month by month versus annual. Okay. But the whole thing is becoming commoditized, but there is a cost attached to it.
Okay. And does your firm like help manage or develop strategy for like Instacart and like Criteo and these types of programs?
Yeah. Shopper is a major component of supporting retail.
So
Now,
you would
what I
work on
argue
bid,
for
you'd work
most
on the
brand,
bids, and when you're like targeting to take words, like you do all that.
well, the ironic thing is with Shopper, same thing with Amazon, same thing with direct to consumer. It's typically a two-pronged strategy. First, it's a search strategy, and then when that's working, then you layer on display, right?
Okay.
Just each one has different nuances with it.
Okay.
But like I said, Instacart is usually the lowest hanging fruit to start to think about shopper,
Yeah.
and then you
Well,
layer in the others.
well, in the shop, in the penetration. So at a key natural retailer, I spend a lot of time with. I'm hearing 15 to 20% and more of digital penetration going on. Where in that case, it's Instacart. That Instacart is 15% of the department, 20% of the department. So if you're not like if a brand is not executing on Instacart, they're potentially missing a huge opportunity to grow their brand.
Well,
Um,
there's two advantages. One is obviously if I'm looking for Kroger shoppers, I'm going to find them in one or two places, either Kroger.com or Instacart,
yep.
right? It's typically people are one or the other. The other thing is if I have a product that maybe I'm dealing with placement and merchandising issues, one store is putting me here, one store is
Yep.
putting me there, and I'm losing the opportunity really for discovery or new category creator. I would argue it's a lot easier to disrupt online because they aren't walking the
Yeah.
normal process. They aren't mowing
Yep.
the lawn.
Yep.
You could probably get them a little bit. Let's say if your product is like, shoot, let's say like an iced tea and you're a refrigerated iced tea,
Mm-hmm.
but they're passing the shelf stable iced teas in the middle of the aisle earlier.
Yep.
So if somebody grabs a gallon jug and picks it up and puts it in there, and yours comes up later, you might have missed the shot because your journey, right? So if I can hit shopper, I might be able to get them in my cart before they mow the lawn and
Wow.
pick the other
I
brand up.
never
Get it?
really thought about it that way as a potential solution for that problem, or merchandising may not be where we need it to be. And these guys are going through the entire store anyway, the Instacart shoppers. So
And
the chances,
discovery too.
is,
Once
yeah,
again, if I'm a new product that no one maybe ever heard of, I might have a better shot doing some keyword plays.
you would think, right? I mean, that
Yeah,
seems like it'd make a lot of sense to me. Like someone's searching, in the case of Abbott, someone's searching for Beyond, and then Abbott's is sniping that, right? Then there
yeah.
seems like there's a they would never have discovered it in that platform otherwise, most likely, right?
The only negative or something to consider, maybe not now, but later, the benefits between, let's say, a Kroger.com or Kroger Precision versus an Instacart is the perceived trade spend value. Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
if you go to a Kroger, right, they're going to ask for trade, right?
Yep.
And of trade spend, two is bad, three is good. Or two are bad, three are good. Slotting free fills bad, demo, promo, display, good or better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Instead of paying money for slotting or free fills, where I'm paying for air or giving away product, this was back when I was with CA Fortune, back in my youths. Um, I told the sales team, hey, why not negotiate against slotting and free fill and tell them we'll take that 50K and put it against Kroger.com, right?
Right. And
Now,
drive some sales.
since that point in time, Kroger will waive slotting if you put 5% trade against Kroger.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's already there. They drop the first domino, the other. So it's really a real or perceived trade spend play with the Krogers and with the other retailer.coms.
Got it. Rolling back a little bit, if you have a younger brand and they maybe aren't ready for retail yet, and there's a choice between going big in Amazon or D2C on your own website, like today in general, is there a rule? Like, is Amazon more important because it's already a marketplace that exists, or how do you look at that? How do you decide?
Yeah, it's funny. My thesis on that has changed over the last 18 months, right? It
Mine has
used to
too.
be direct to consumer, then
Yep, yep,
Amazon,
yep.
and
Control the consumer.
retail.
Get the newsletters.
Yeah.
Own them.
Well, what's happened is Amazon has a couple of incredible things going for it. Yes, obviously it's an incredible marketplace, right? And I argue if you're looking at your margin calculator, okay, with retail, you're going 40 points for retailer, 15 points for distributor, 20 points for trade in general, right? Amazon's going to be 15 points for Amazon, 15 points for Amazon shipping, and then 20% instead of trade spend is 20% either for pay-per-click to find a new customer or
Wow.
discounting for existing customers, right?
It adds up. That's a huge
But
spend.
it's still better margins than retail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if I have my pricing set for retail, even if I'm not going retail, but if I have my pricing set
you
for
can
retail,
be profitable on Amazon.
you can be profitable on Amazon. The other things I like about Amazon are Amazon decided not to fight with other people, right? So they decided not to fight with Shopify. Instead, what they did is they integrated. So
Yep.
now I can do buy on Prime. When I was working with Pitos originally, Pitos, you're selling bags of extruded puffed air, right? You're selling bags of air, right? And no matter what you looked at it from a 3PL basis, you couldn't make your nut. The only way to do it was on Amazon. But we had this good reach. So what we simply did at the time was we hard coded the Shopify site to basically line up with Amazon. Now,
Nice.
since that time, as of 18, 24 months ago, Amazon now has the buy on Prime button. It does that automatically. But the cool thing is I could still own my consumer relationship. It doesn't even touch Amazon per se. You're only using Amazon as your
Fulfillment.
3PL partner.
Yep.
You know? So now if I look at my margins there, it's no cost on the top other than Shopify cost, less than 15% on shipping for Amazon, and no cost on PPC, et cetera. But the problem with direct consumer is more complex, right? Top of funnel, I have paid search, I have paid media, I have paid social, I have affiliate, I have SEO. Then I have CRO and Shopify development in the middle. And then I have Klaviyo at the bottom. You're talking from an agency perspective, you at least have 7 to 10 people working on that. And you need to orchestrate this.
Yes.
If you're doing it on your own, you have to orchestrate this beautiful dance of left hand and right hand talking.
Right.
So it might not be the lowest hanging fruit. So I argue if you have existing direct-to-consumer business, what I do is I take my Amazon, put the buy on Prime button, get rid of my 3PL costs, and just line that up.
So
if not, maybe I wait.
So the D2C is almost like a hybrid D2C where you're actually sending people through Amazon through your own website.
Yeah, you're actually keeping them on your website.
Yeah.
You're just fulfilling them.
Yeah, fulfilling. Amazon. And so you own that email address. You can communicate because with Amazon, I don't get the email address, correct? Or do I?
Correct. Okay. No, you don't. But if you get it through Shopify and it's buy on Prime, now I do.
That's where we went.
But then TikTok Shop, once again, beautiful beast. Cameron's a great guy over there and has built out a great team. But in Amazon, once again, instead of being enemies, they said, hey, let's partner together. Now I can do buy on Prime on TikTok Shop. So I would argue even bigger. Now this is going to go on a big limb here.
Let's do it.
AWS from a 3PL basis and a distributor, Amazon Warehouse and Distribution, they're starting to compete with the RJWs of the world on basically shipping to retailer. My thesis is 18 to 24 months, Amazon will have cold supply chain. And then from there, why the heck wouldn't they think about going after unifying KE? It's right for disruption, right?
Right.
So you talk about building with the right infrastructure. I would argue that AWS is one of my cheaper 3PL solutions across the board, especially if I'm shelf stable.
Well, it simplifies things too. Why use any other? Why have to manage Amazon and then also manage a 3PL like this?
No, it becomes trickier with cold supply chain because as of today, everything I have to do is FBM or fulfilled by manufacturer, right?
Right.
So that's you could do it. It's just not all of a sudden now you're losing some of the points and advantages of Amazon being a really good distributor.
Got it. And for someone who, I guess what I struggle with on the D2C side, even with Amazon fulfillment, is to your point, the cost and all the people involved to get it done. But I like the idea of having my website because I can then have a relationship with that consumer. But So it sounds like it's kind of like a both and. Like, yes, the fulfillment's happening from Amazon, but and maybe it, but I need to have both Amazon and my D2C operating essentially,
Well,
right?
if it depends, once again, stage of the company. Let's say somebody's starting off in
Yeah.
early in existence, and I don't have infrastructure built out, and if I have limited working capital and limited use of funds, my order of operations is going to be Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
maybe TikTok Shop
Yep.
simultaneously or
Yep.
directly. Working capital for Amazon is usually, by the time you start, it's going to be about 6 to 9 months till that money starts coming back home.
Okay.
But it's less capital risk.
Yep.
Um, that's the lowest part. TikTok Shop is not a lot of capital risk, but it's a little bit like cilantro. TikTok Shop is either going to love or hate you. You know,
Okay.
so it's a little bit like going to Vegas there.
Oh,
But
I
the
didn't know
risk is
that.
relatively
Okay.
low.
Okay.
Well, low depending on what how the politics work out.
Yeah, I don't know. With a couple weeks.
And then direct to consumer, once again, looking at all the buttons I really need to push from paid search, paid social,
Mm-hmm.
SEO, affiliate, CRO, CapEx with Shopify
Yep.
and
Yep.
Klaviyo, that's going to take a lot, even though the working capital might come back quicker,
Mm-hmm.
might come back in 3 or 4 months versus 6 or 9 months. It'll come back quicker, but I have to spend about 2 to 3x in order to make that happen.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you for explaining it that way. I think I got it clear now. And on the Amazon side, the fact that it takes the 6 months plus to come back, is it just so that the efficiency of targeting the consumer and building out the base and getting the reviews, or like what is it that makes that happen and eventually turns around?
Multiple different reasons, right? But it's just simply think of Google SEO and how long it takes to
Yeah,
really get the algorithm working, let alone funnel working,
got it.
etc.
It's
It's not
finding
saying
you.
that money isn't going to come back to you. So let's say if I have 70K in the bank,
Yep.
right? It's not like I'm going to cut a check for 70K and
Right.
wait 6 months. I'm going to be spending money and aggregating spend, and some of that money is going to come back home in chunks. But I argue you should have 70K in the bank before you really start playing hard on Amazon,
Got it.
right? And it's out of pocket spend isn't that heavy. It only starts off with maybe $1,000 the first month. Then when that starts to work, then you double it to 2,000, then to 5, and then to 10,
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of doubles up. So it's once again not an instant pull from your bank account. I just like to think about chunks of working capital and
Yep.
how much I should
No,
have.
it's great to have those numbers to have an idea what that be. And it's like the other side of it is like my own website. I might spend $25,000 just designing the website, right? It's like,
Well, that's CapEx, right?
yeah,
I don't have CapEx really with
you
Amazon.
just go. Yep.
Direct to consumer, well, I argue you have to have that. Probably doesn't go under direct to consumer because everybody needs a website
Yeah.
anyways. Now,
Yeah.
is there cost difference between WordPress versus Shopify? Yeah, but it's not
Nominal.
maybe a 20% difference, So yeah, I'm spending a little bit more so I could allocate that 20% increase to CapEx, but that goes underneath my P&L
Mm-hmm.
and expenses, not necessarily on
Yeah.
my working capital.
For a smaller guy, cash might be cash, but still. And
Yeah.
But I like I agree with you. I feel like I used to be very pro D2C first, and now I am exactly the same. I feel like Amazon is definitely the Amazon and TikTok shops feel like the place to go first while you're, figure that out. I always tell brands, like, especially when you're really young, let's see how you're doing. Let's see how the Amazon reviews are coming in. Let's see how the sales are going, and make sure the hypothesis that this product should be in the market is right before we go spend a crazy amount of money and everything else.
Yeah, I
Amazon's a good
mean,
place to test.
but even when I go through, let's say, going back to the brand strategy part. So when I do a brand strategy, I'll pull not only syndicated because retail is always going to where I'm going to want to be, right?
Yep.
But I'll also pull helium with Amazon to find out what's my path to get to where I should be. And sometimes your online offerings, I often think of Amazon much more like Costco versus Kroger, right? It's
I love Costco.
different pack sizes,
Yep.
variety packs, and things like that. It's just a different mentality, but I still need to build my cost structure and my SKU level to where I need to be able to sell this product and make margins at retail, and I need to think about that day one, even if I'm not going to retail right away.
Got it. Got it. And pardon my ignorance, but Helium is effectively spins for Amazon, or?
Yeah. There's a couple other solutions out there. It's just the one we use.
Okay. And so that's great. So it's like basically syndicated data. I didn't know you could actually see like how the whole market is performing in a certain category, subcategory.
It's not quite as great as like the attributes I get from spins or even layered over Circana or something. It's not quite the same, but I can go into a competitor or into a category, see the key players. And what I tend to do, same thing I look at syndicated. The things that I can do are, what are my top 20 brands and my top 20 movers?
Yep.
And my top 20 new entrants. Because if somebody grew 1,200%.
Yeah, they're probably new entrants.
I want to put new entrants in a different category. It's still meaningful, but it has a different meaning, right?
Yeah.
But if I look at a new mover, maybe they were number 20 on the list last year, but now they're number 5 or 6 on the list this year. That's big, right? Yeah. What's happening there? Is it the SKU? Is it the brand? What is it, right? Is it a new usage application? Who knows, right? But let's go look at it. So I do that with syndicated both on brand and SKU level data, but then I could do the same thing on Helium. So I could still get that top 20 moving SKUs. I could search by brand and pull out, here's my 3 or 4 main competitors that I think, but then go find some new ones by pulling category data. I can't layer on quite the attributes I can with like syndicated data, pulling in, hey, pack sizes. And I can, but it's just not as convenient,
not the same.
Right?
Okay. That makes sense. And so can a brand work with you on any one of your offerings, or is it something where they need to kind of be all in with you?
No, to me, it's a continuum. I mean, in a perfect world, it starts off with brand strategy. You either create yourself or you relook at yourself and pull the data, figure out where to go from there. And then it's, okay, what is the strategy by channel, right? And use of funds. So if oftentimes somebody will call us and just say, maybe they're a $20 million company and they're like, hey, we already got guys doing this, but so I'll go through and do an audit, let's say on their direct to consumer and Amazon, and say, hey, there's some low hanging fruit on Klaviyo automation and flows. Maybe you're doing 60% campaigns and 40% flows when it should probably be flipped, right?
Got it.
And let's go set those automations up. And so let us come in with Klaviyo, and maybe there's some low-hanging fruit on SEO that can convert relatively quickly. So maybe we'll start off with Klaviyo and SEO, then we'll walk our way to paid search, then we'll walk our way to paid social, then we'll back into creative, and sometimes I'll even back into a brand strategy, right?
Got it. In the end,
it's a continuum, and if I do my job right, you should be able to stop and start anywhere, even though the preferred method would be, instead of going to a doctor and asking to put a Band-Aid on, hey, is there a holistic problem? Why is my elbow bleeding? Maybe I should look at the fact that I ate a cheeseburger last night at 3 a.m. and who knows, right?
Blew my blood vessels out. Anyway, so, and also part of my ignorance, what is Klaviyo?
Klaviyo is email and SMS tool. When that one is, I would probably say, the dominating email and SMS one because of its partnership with Klaviyo, right? Or with Shopify, right?
Okay.
They work tongue in cheek together.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so
which is great. I mean, because if you talk about everything I talk about from direct to consumer is no longer ROAS. To me, it's not about return on ad spend. It's either one blended ROAS, because I really don't care if I spend $1 on an ad and got $1 back, but I want to know all the way through the journey when they purchase and repurchase again. So I like to look at what's called LTV over CAC, long-term value over customer acquisition cost. And the goal typically, this is a gross overstatement, but typically 3-time LTV over CAC is good, right?
Okay.
So you want to look at that. And one of the best ways to increase LTV over CAC is simply put to get people to buy more and buy more often.
Got it.
Right?
And so magic is when that ratio is like 10, 15. 20. It's like
I would actually argue if it's too high. I have that problem with I'm a partner in a chocolate company, and we actually have a 12-time LTV over CAC.
I'm smiling.
That's really good. That's a great problem to have, but it also means I'm leaving money on the table.
I'm not getting enough new consumers in.
No, it means I have an opportunity with that high of an LTV over CAC. I can get down to 5 and be in great shape.
Oh, I see your point. I see your point.
Yeah.
We
So
probably
I'm
should
leaving money on
increase
the table.
customer
I could spend
acquisition.
more.
Like, yeah, we basically hit the core of the core of the core as consumers, but let's expand beyond that to people that
Yeah.
also could be very valuable consumers.
Yeah. So how can I spend a little bit more either through other channels or put
Yep.
more
Yep.
gas on the flames in these two
That
particular areas?
that makes sense. Gosh, I'm learning so much. This is really good. I do not spend a lot of time in this space, so it's so I'm so curious. So, how did you get here? What was your career path to being the sage of all things?
Oh, I think the scientific definition is two wrongs don't make a right, but three lefts do, right? So
Yeah.
I had a branding creative agency for about 20 years called JV Chicago that I backed into. I didn't know I was starting an agency. I just fell into it. And I did some fun things like taking Unilever and Axe deodorant, pre-douche brand. It was one of the first brands on Twitter, and
Yeah.
had some real fun sort of along the way on really figuring out, because I was dumb enough to figure things out that big agencies couldn't do. But I started to work with, for example, Smithfield and Alan Murray from Goodbelly back when he moved. I worked with Alan when he was at Tetra Pak, and then he jumped over to Goodbelly. So I had these two,
Okay.
one really big brand and two, a really nimble brand that I could play around with, two really incredible people, Alan Murray and Tim Zimmer, two leaders in the space, in my opinion, coming from different worlds that just, whether they knew it or not, they mentored me with their dollars, right? And we were able to
What a
play and
gift.
figure these things out that other people weren't looking at sort of along the way. Um, so I had the agency, but along the way I was like, hey, all my friends that sold their agency sold to another holding company, and they all holding company pits all their agencies against each other. So all my friends literally came back with their tail between their legs, right?
Yeah.
They didn't make anything on the exit. So I'm like, there's got to be another path. So my attorney, Scotty Capp from DLA Piper, invited me to a banker dinner years ago. And I'm like, I don't want to go. He's like, come, you're going to have me and your accountant sit next to you, not billing you, and a steak in front of you. And it was all these.
I'm glad they clarified they're not billing you.
It was that was very important, and the steak, but
Yeah.
it was all these private equity, family office, VC, accountants, lawyers, all the sharks, no fish in the room, right? And I was like, oh, after I figured out what they did for a living, it was like, we all do the same thing, market and position companies. I do it by increasing the top line. They do it by trying to reduce the bottom line. There's
Yep.
some there, right? So I became really a poorly paid investment banker by aligning. I had a bunch of middle market companies looking for that were looking to grow or stop the bleeding, right? Which was perfect for them. Then sort of the food thing sort of happened on natural food. And they're like, they went from $20 million minimums down to 10, down to 5, and down to 1. And I'm like, time out. You don't know how to work with emerging brands. They have a lot different issues than a 20 or $100 million
Yeah.
brand. So I was hanging out with Patrick Tanous from Tiesta Tea back when him and a few guys were basically had a frat house in Chicago where they were, it was office, sleeping quarters, distribution, and he had a couple people together, and we sort of organically created what I call the Windy City Troublemakers, right? Which became an AA for food brands. Some of the first people sitting in the rooms were, Caitlin from Simple Mills, Peter and
Yep.
Jared from RX Bar when they're wearing hairnets, and what you had was I figured out all these emerging brands had the same three problems. My co-packer sucks the least out of the three I tried. I'm paying X amount with a broker distributor. I have no clue what they're doing for me. Or, yeah, you got the product on the shelf. How do I get it off the shelf? So I was like, oh, I started thinking if my agency actually became part of an investment group, that way I could eat what I killed for a living, grow the incremental value of the portfolio companies, and have a nickel on exit. That was the thesis. So I made a run at my first. I became a GPLP in a small fund called Spiral Sun Ventures. Some great portfolio companies in there, like Pacha Soap is in there,
Yeah.
Farmer's Fridge, Busy Coffee.
Yeah.
But my partners and I didn't have the same ethos, right? We didn't necessarily agree on everything. So when Fund 2 rolled around, I said, okay, we'll part ways and I'm going to go look for another fund to tie my agency to. Instead, I re-met Tyler Lowell with CA Fortune.
Yeah, Tyler's
And
great.
it was right around the time they did 9 acquisitions in 5 years and became really the only privately held national sales agency, right? So they were vertically integrating, and I was like, oh, this could be fun. Same thesis, eat what I kill for a living with the marketing side, grow the incremental value of clients instead of portfolio companies. And instead of a nickel on exit, we were getting paid real time on the brokerage levels. So if you grew somebody from 1 to 50, it was you didn't have to wait for this incredible exit opportunity to happen, right? So I sold my agency in 2019, rebranded CA Fortune, really looked at them as a consumer brands agency or creating this continuum. Became the CMO of the larger organization. And when my 3 years came up, I would argue we did everything successfully, right? You grow a company from where it was to the size they are today. It's good on paper, but I'm not a corporate guy. It got pretty corporate.
Well, believe me, I'm that guy too. It's not me.
And it's nothing against them. It got pretty corporate, and I'm not on the cap table anymore. So I'm like, what's next, right? When my 3 years came up, one of the companies I tried to acquire was 108. I was trying to figure out this. CA was basically, let's get as much of the P&L as possible, which was smart, right? Why have money going to another party when theoretically we could do it better in-house and get more of that money internally. So when I re-met Olive, the founder of 108, he had this performance shop. I had brand strategies. You match brand strategy and performance. That's the marketing budget. Now, from a sales perspective, I obviously work with non-CA Fortune agencies for the most part. I mean, ex-girlfriends, we get along together at parties, but we probably don't share a lot of toothbrushes.
Never. Well said.
So, I outsource sales. I work with you, on those companies that either have a head of sales, but they don't have the regionals, or maybe they don't have a head of sales, but they have an active founder or international, et cetera. And then on the ops side, I have folks to work with on the plant side and back office side. So, you look at this triangle of success for any CPG as marketing, sales, operation, the money in the middle. I've got good relationship. Obviously, I handle marketing, good folks like you on the sales side, good folks, including you on the ops side, and then the debt and equity in the middle. I can have a little bit of fun.
I like that. Well explained. What a journey. Congratulations.
Once again, hang out with people smarter than you when the bar is relatively low, so that leads to a vast network. Right?
Well, I just want to say I sold my company to Cahey, and obviously you sold your company to CA Fortune, and I used to think like, what's wrong with these people? And then I realized, like I'm the only one that doesn't fit. So it's like I'm the problem. I'm like, I get it now. Like I'm used to doing things my own way, leading my own company, and having a tremendous amount of freedom relative to that.
It's hard to work for somebody after you.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And
we're not good at. We're not somebody's dream employee. We'll just
no. I was the opposite. I feel very sorry for the person that I reported to at Cahey. I just was constantly trying to shake things up. So. Why can't we make it perfect? Why can't we keep improving everything?
Well, and then on the other end, once again, because I have this marketing, sales, operations, the debt and equity, me and my three of my friends went in, and Vosges Chocolate was having financial issues. It was going through Article 9. So me and three of my friends went in, won the company in auction, did our first goal in 24, which was save the jobs, right? So we started a new co, brought all the people in, made chocolate for Q4. And fast forward today, there's a lot of things left to do, but fast forward today, we have a meaningful, beautiful brand that's been around, one of the creator brands. And now we have a profitable business that's making incredible profit, and it's not going away anytime soon.
I love it. I love it. Well, great job. And if you're okay, I like to, I'm a big packaging geek. Would you be up for looking at a couple of different brands and their packaging, and can we analyze it together live?
Let's go. Let's
Without,
go.
remember, there's no prep work here. He did not know I'd be asking for this. Screen, let's pick this one here. I think this actually might be a client of yours. I saw this on the shelf recently, and it really caught my attention. And I'm curious your perspective on packaging in this case.
Okay, I got to zoom in just a little
Oh,
bit more because
do you see the Mush double chocolate
yeah,
chip bar?
yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you, like the way that I look at it is like this kind of three level hierarchy of a consumer experience in the store. Number one, does it get my attention? It's got to get my attention to even look at it. Do I know what it is? And then I think that might be where I would challenge this brand. And then number three is, do I know why I want to buy it? Right. And so I'm thinking that's I don't know if you have your own hierarchy of how you look at it, but as you look at packaging, how do you approach it?
No, you actually said a great thing. First of all, I look at two things. One, does it disrupt the shelf? And two, does it tell the consumer in 1.5 seconds where they give it?
Yep.
Right. Because
exactly.
consumers are flying by at 150 miles an hour, 2 minutes per aisle max, late to take Jimmy and Susie to soccer practice.
Yep.
Education equals debt. They don't have time for that. So
yep.
Ironically, the from a 1.5 second punch in the face perspective, the most important thing to me is usually the least sexy thing to any other brand, which is the product description and the SKU name. Right.
Nice.
So I need to know what it is. And if you can give me a product description that differentiates at the same time, like double chocolate is the flavor, grain-free protein bar, right?
Yeah.
If the protein bar might be the descriptor, but grain-free is the differentiator, right?
Got it. So I know what it is, and then why I want to buy it. Right. In this case, this is 100% whole grains. And then it's like the protein claim seems like a good one, right? Like 15 grams is pretty good.
15. If you're protein, you got to be, I'd argue, 12 grams or above to even play in the game.
Yeah.
So it's got to be 15. You got to put that bold, and whole grains or whatever you want to push on the other side. Great. But to me, it's, once again, double chocolate chip. The fact that it's on two lines drives me crazy.
Right. That's interesting to me. Yeah.
And the fact that one of the things is very funny is you ask any creative, it's the words "make the logo bigger" or what every brand thinks they want. You know what matters least to somebody buying
the logo? Like, I want to know what it is and why I want to buy it.
Exactly. It's ironically, Mush could do the logo an eighth of the size, and it'd
be fine.
I bet it doesn't. I bet it actually helped velocity instead of reducing velocity.
Yeah. But
so go ahead.
Do you notice how simple the packaging is, though? Like, it's not overdone. There's some negative space on it. I'm seeing that a bit more now. I think we'd gotten over bugged on the front, all the different bugs, like the organic, non-GMO. How do you feel about the negative space on this?
Yeah, no, it's good. Design-wise, it's a good, clean design. What I don't have is one of the things I like to do first and foremost is go in and do a competitive study of what's happening.
Yeah, totally.
Because what you aren't seeing here is it might look beautiful, like Goodbelly. When I worked with Goodbelly, Alan Murray, when I first started working with them, they had a bright, beautiful, colorful packaging, right? Should have won design awards. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
The problem was when you took that bright, beautiful, colorful packaging, you put it on the shelf with the other bright, beautiful fruit juices, it blended in like a chameleon. Once we went with a black packaging that I don't recommend often, but in the refrigerated set, it disrupted and it hovered off the fluorescent lights that you don't get center of store. That in and of itself, and I would argue the 1.5 second punch in the face, at the time, nobody knew what probiotics were, right?
Yeah.
So once again, going back to education and the death equals death, put the probiotic story, billions of bugs in your body on the back of the pack. Front of the pack, you have a great name working for you, Goodbelly. And talk about the gut health story quick. Because now I can understand gut health more than I can probiotics, especially at that time. Those two things together increase velocity 300%. Cheapest trade spend of all time, right?
We'll take it. I like how you're challenging me as I'm challenging you. It's like I need to see the whole set in order to really know. I mean, there certainly is at some level you can say, hey, this packaging's on the right track. And yes, they take a look at everything else in the set. Um, right. I mean, it isn't, you don't have.
It's a good clean design, and to go back to the product description and say, well, I'm going to be in the protein set. So are you though? I mean, first of
Right.
all, are you going to
Right.
be in the protein set? Or are you going to be over? You're going to be in sports nutrition over by
Or what if you're
Cliff?
next to
And
midday squares in that refrigerated
yeah.
set, and then that's like a decadent indulgence? Like, are you? Is that
Oh,
what
is
you are?
Mush, is that one refrigerated or not?
I think it is. I could be wrong. I
Okay.
thought it was.
Okay. Then a different set, obviously,
Yeah.
because you're looking at midday, you're looking at Perfect Bar, you're looking at a few other things, and that
Yeah.
wasn't a set a couple years ago. Now it is, right?
Agreed. And I'll bring one up more up. Since you mentioned black, I'll bring actually Abbott's up. Because you're right. Because I remember being worried about black like 5 years ago when Carrie launched Abbott's into retail 4 years ago, and the black actually worked, to your point. But I'm curious if there's any feedback on packaging here.
Well, first of all, is it just ground beef? Is that all it is?
It's a plant-based
A plant-based ground beef, though,
Yep.
but that's all it is. It's
Yep.
not a ready-to-eat meal or
Nope.
anything.
Nope.
I would probably, depending on, and this is frozen set, I assume.
The refrigerated set, refrigerated,
Okay, it
kind of
is
the vegan
refrigerated.
ghetto. Yeah.
So if you're refrigerated, two placements. One, are you next to you going what Impossible and Beyond Meat try to do, going directly after fresh, or are you in that refrigerated plant based?
More like the light life. Yeah, exactly. The latter.
Yeah. So once again, if it is plant rich, is there any different? I can't read the call outs. Is there any different attributes that differentiate this ground beef than other?
Yeah, and I think in this case they did a good job with the non-GMO Project Verified, the Whole 30, and then the 18 grams of protein, soy-free, gluten-free. Yeah, and it's going to be in that set. So I'm going to recognize that it's in a kind of a vegan set generally, right? And then it's like the biggest reason that set has been going through a lot of challenges is is like maybe taste, but probably more than that, it was like the ingredients. So they went very forward with like made with porcini mushrooms, onions, black pepper, and thyme, like really emphasizing the ingredients. So I think that they did a good job of recognizing like, hey, what is the challenge here, and what are consumers really looking for in a modern plant-based option or a plant-rich option? So yeah. Anyway, that's some of my comments on
the
it.
areas that I might think about were one, where is the protein coming from? Is it chickpea? If it's not soy, right?
Not soy,
So
because it's soy-free here. So it's actually coming from the pea protein.
okay, so if it's coming from pea, I might actually call out pea protein,
Oh,
even though I'm
interesting.
saying it
Okay.
because people want to know if you look at, for example, let's look at the refrigerated set with
Mm.
Impossible and um, Beyond Meat, right? Um, the major meat manufacturers were at first a little pissed off. Hey, you're actually carving out some of our set for this plant-based stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't realize, what's number 3 really on the list for plant-based data? Right? It's I forget the name of it. Pure Farmland. I guess
I
who
don't know.
makes pure farmland? It's Smithfield.
Okay, got it.
So Smithfield just simply said, okay, you guys are coming into our turf. Guess what? We own trade here. We own this space. We own the retailers. We own the customer relationships. We're just going to elbow out and have them put our soy-based crap over here. I wouldn't say crap, but the soy-based product over here, and we're just going to get our market share back, which
Right.
they did. So no one really thinks about it. Is it a plant-based brand that people are rolling off their tongue? No. Does it
Yep.
hit the numbers? Absolutely, number
Yep.
3. So I think there is a difference calling out that not only is this not soy, it's actually something meaningful.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
and
pea is generally respected. Like people don't freak out about pea protein.
yeah, and then the other thing I might do, instead of just ground beef and throwing the ingredients underneath it, I might call it something in the product description, something like Mexican spiced or whatever spiced, flavored, or
Okay.
tacos, whatever the best application is. So it's not just ground beef, but I have some other good shit in there.
Yeah.
So let's figure out what that is, and let's call it, instead of ground beef, let's call it uh, ready to add skillet meat or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. Or make it clear. I think like the idea of that was for it to be relatively neutral, so it could be literally used as like ground beef in any of your recipes, right? And but it's interesting that your take on it, because that may not have been fully clear. But this is like meant to be a base, right? Not something that's already pre-seasoned so much. But I think there could be maybe better communication to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's once again, I go back to if you deal with somebody, let's say I'm working with a company that has this great new Indian sauce. They're
Mm.
like, "What's the best usage for it?" Well, you can put it on anything. That doesn't. That's almost too confusing for a consumer.
We
What's
have
the
to make
best?
it easy.
Give me the best usage of the. What's the 80-20 rule? What's the 80% of usage goes with what usage? Go with that. Then on the back of that pack, talk about the
Yep.
other things you could do.
Got it.
Right. So I'm good on tacos. Okay. You are a taco seasoning that can be used for
Yeah.
chili and other things. Right.
Yeah. No, this is great. Thank you. I've had you for an hour now. I'm grateful for this time together. I learned so much, especially for the Amazon discussion was really fun because it's something that's so relevant to the, a lot of the people listening to this podcast. And grateful for you just showing up and just telling us what's going on.
It's a fun world. The rug is moving. The world today is differently than it was yesterday, and differently the day before, and will
Yep.
be the difference tomorrow. Its core fundamentals are in there, but at the same time, once again, shoot bullets, not cannonballs, right? Make
That's
sure,
exactly it.
it's
Until you hit your target, and then go for it. Go for it,
then
guys.
go big
Yeah.
or go home. Step two.
Well,
Right.
Steve, I'm grateful for our relationship. Grateful for you being here today, and wish you all the best. And look forward to growing together.
You got it, man. I'll see you in Vegas.
I'll see you in Vegas.